Hello everybody and welcome. This is the Shy Hat, that's me, and we're doing HackerFrogs AfterSchool Python Programming Basics Part 5. This is going to be the last Python programming workshop for this course. So we're going to end off by looking at Python modules and packages today. So what do we mean by Python packages and modules? Well, we'll explain that in just a bit. But before that, let's take a look at what we learned before. So this workshop is the fourth, this is actually the fifth and final class for Intro to Python Programming. During our last workshop, we learned about a few Python concepts through Python, a few programming concepts through Python, including the following. Let's see, Ilhan here says he hasn't been meeting up with the cybersecurity folks in his town, but he will do so. Have I heard of the 42 coding program? No, I have not. Why don't you tell me about the 42 coding program? Okay, so we learned about dictionaries last time. Dictionaries in Python are similar to other container objects, such as lists, except that the data stored in dictionaries are pairs of keys/values as opposed to individual items. So here we see that inside of this dictionary here called country capitals, we have a key value which are England and Canada in this case, and the value of those keys, which are London and Ottawa, respectively. Okay, yeah, let's talk about the 42 coding program a little bit later. But yeah, we're talking about Python right now. So dictionaries are useful for recording different key value pairs that all pertain to one subject, or one common value across a number of subjects. So dictionaries are good for keeping track of things like phone numbers, or in this case, statistics or statistics about one particular subject. So in this case, we have a person named John, and their vital statistics in this dictionary right here. And we have height, weight, age, gender. Okay, so these are all things about this particular topic. All right, so today we're taking a look at modules and packages. So a module is a piece of software which serves a specific purpose. Modules typically contain a number of functions, classes, variables, and or methods that can be imported into a Python namespace to make use of extended functionality. So namespace is something that's very important to today's lesson, so let's take a closer look. So what are namespaces? A namespace is a collection of defined symbolic names and their corresponding values. So every Python program exists within a namespace, and importing modules into a namespace adds objects from the module into the current namespace. So we're talking about modules. How can modules enhance our Python programs? So as an example, the Python random module contains a few different methods for generating random numbers or rearranging pre-existing data into random configurations. Okay, so we have an example here where we import random into the namespace, and then we have a numbered list over here with a bunch of numbers in sequential order. And then we use the random.shuffle function on the number list. And then when we print the number list again, we see that the order of the numbers in the list have been shuffled. They've been rearranged. And that's all thanks to the random shuffle function that we imported into the namespace. All right, so in order to use module functionality, the module must be imported into the namespace. This can be done in one of two ways, either by importing the whole module into the namespace, as shown above. Okay, so here we're importing random, which means that the entire module random module is being imported into the namespace, so that we can use anything from the random module in the namespace. Or we can specify which methods or functions to import from a specific module, like the example shown here. Okay, so instead of importing the entire module into the namespace, we can instead import a specific object. So from random, import shuffle. So we're importing the shuffle function from the random module, which means that only the shuffle object, the shuffle function, is available because it's been imported into the namespace. In this case, we don't have to do random.shuffle to reference shuffle. We can just do shuffle on its own as a function, and it works just the same. So note that we import specific functions from a module. We can access those functions without specifying the module name, that we did in the first example. So we did random.shuffle to access it in the last one, but we only use shuffle in this example here. So we can also custom name the module as we import it. So we can import the random module, but we can give it a different name. In this case, we give it the name RNG functions. So afterwards, whenever we use the word RNG functions, it refers to the random module. So RNG functions.shuffle is the same as random.shuffle in this case. So when importing modules into Python code, we can set up a custom name for the module within the code, either to shorten the module name, change it so that it doesn't overlap with another module in our namespace, or any other reason. So how do we create a module? Writing a module requires the creation of a .py file with the same name as the name of the module we want to write. Here we've created a file named greetings.py within the code shown above. All right, so we're going to get into some interactive parts of this workshop today. So first of all, I'd like you to know that you can take a look at the follow along workshop document for today's workshop at the following link. So I'm putting the link in chat now. So if you click on that link, it's going to download a PDF which has all of the contents of today's workshop on it, just in case you want to reference it later. We also have some of the code that we're going to be referencing today, and I'll get you the link for that right now. So let me see, let me get this. Okay, and I'll paste this in chat as well. So this is what we're going to write right now for the greetings.py module. So I'm going to copy this. And for our learning purposes, we're going to use the JS Linux website. So let's open up JS Linux. So this is a virtual machine, a web-based virtual machine that has Linux on it, and we can use this one to write our Python scripts. So real quickly now, I'll just paste that in the chat as well, in case you need to use it. Is it the same as WSL? WSL, let's see. WSL programming? Windows subsystem for Linux. No, it's not the same as Windows subsystem for Linux. This is a web-based version of Linux. I think it was written in JavaScript, but you can access this from the web, and you can. I'm not sure if you can keep your data on this particular virtual machine, but it's really useful for learning Linux, or in this case for writing some Python files. So in this virtual machine right here, we can create the greetings module. Okay, so nano greetings.py, and then we will. Let's see. So we'll grab this code right here, default greetings, and we'll paste it in here. So inside of this one, you can't use keyboard shortcuts. You're going to have to use right click to do all your shortcuts. So we've defined a function right here. So all this does is prints, hello friend, how are you? And this is the default greeting. So we can save this as greetings.py. Okay, I have to make this a little bit smaller. I hope everybody can see. It's a bit hard to read the screen. Let's see if we can make, Okay, so let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay, I'm just afraid that when it starts scrolling down, it's going to become hard to read. Okay, so we wrote this this file right here. So greetings.py. So we created a file named greeting.py with the code shown above. So it only has the one function right here. So provided we run a Python interactive console from the same directory containing the greetings.py file, we can import the file as a module and use the function defined inside the module, just like any other module. Okay, so when we run Python, any module that we want to import has to be either inside the Python library directory, which is user user lib python. I think that's it. Okay. Let me take a look at. Let's ask ChatGPT in Linux, where can we find Python libraries? Okay, so let's go back to the PDF. So first off, we can import greetings, and then we can use the greetings.default. After we import that, we can use greetings.default greeting. So let me demonstrate. So in here, so we can just activate the Python interactive command line. Okay, so import greetings, and then we can do greetings dot default underscore greeting, and that should print out whatever was put in the code in the file there. So it does. Hello friend, how are you? So after we import the module, we're able to use any object from the module in our own namespace. Okay, so what's next? So module initialization. So this isn't something that that comes up super often, but we have to understand that when a module is imported, all objects within the module are initialized once. But if the same objects are imported a second time for whatever reason, they will not be initialized again. So when you import a module, all of the objects inside of that module are going to get an ID number within the namespace, which you can get by using the ID function over here, the built-in ID function. But if for some reason it's imported again, then it's going to keep the same ID number. All right, so next we're going to take a look at the dir function. So the dir function, when used with the module name, returns all the names of attributes, methods, and variables in that module. So if we were to take a look at any standard module and then use the dir function with it, then we would get the name of all the objects inside of that module. So let's demonstrate on onlinepython.com. So here we can import the random module, and then let's print out the dir function of that module. So if we run this, then it's going to give us a list of all the objects inside of the random module. So we can see here that all of the functions and all of the variables inside of the random module are all listed out over here when we run the dir function. So this is something that's handy when you want to get a list of what's inside of the package. All right, so that's the dir function. The other thing we want to look at is the help function. So the help function can be used with an object to return the help text associated with that object. So there are a lot of ways to get information about objects inside of Python. One of them is the help function. So if we wanted to get information about the randint function from the random module, we could use the help function to get that. So if we were to go to online Python again, and we were to use the help, I don't think we need to use print in this case. So .randint, then it would give us the help information for the randint function over here. So let's run that. So it says here unmatched. Oh, okay, I forgot to delete an extra one of these parentheses. Okay, let's run that. Okay, so this is the help text. The help text for randint. So it says that randint AB, so this is the syntax. That's the syntax for the function. Method of random dot random instance. Okay, so return random integer in range AB, including both endpoints. So it's going to be inclusive. So if you do 1 and 2, so 1 and 2 are going to be included. All right, so in fact, we can use help with basically anything inside of Python. So if you wanted to do help for any of the keywords, so for help int, it's going to tell you all about integers in Python. So if we were to run this, so this would tell you all about, there's a lot of help text here. But basically this is a class. The class is integer object, and it tells you all about using integers in Python. Or if you wanted to do help, I don't know, dictionaries, dict keyword. So this will tell you all about dictionaries in Python. So this is very helpful if you don't have any other methods of getting help on any particular object you want to. So here, so dict new empty dictionary. Okay, so it'll also tell you all of the it should tell you all of the functions and methods that you can do with any given object over here. But help in general is pretty useful. But in my case, I would usually look online, or I would ask ChatGPT about any particular module. So we're talking about modules today. So I could ask ChatGPT, tell me about the random module in Python. Which methods and functions does it include? So whatever it is, so of course it's going to have a lot less information depending on how commonly used the module is. But in general, it's a pretty useful thing to do. As long as you're looking at stuff that has a lot of information on. Okay, so let's practice importing modules with Python at the following URL. Okay, so we're looking at bellard.org, JS Linux. So I've already introduced this to you here. What are we going to try to do? I've got another little, so let's exit here. So we imported greetings.py. So once again, so we're going to cat it out. What does greetings.py do? It's got a single function here, default greetings. So we're going to print, hello friend, how are you? So another thing we can do is we can try importing only the one object from greetings.py. In this case, let's go back into Python. And we would do from greetings import default greeting. So from greetings import default greeting, which means it's only going to grab a singular object and put it in the namespace. So in this case, when we try to use default greeting, we don't have to. We can just use default greeting, and then it's going to give us the output that we want, which is the greetings text over here. All right, so we're going to take a little quiz on the module about modules that we learned today. So, question 1. Okay, so when importing the randint function from the random module, which method adds the most objects to the namespace? Okay, so here we have import random. From random, import star, which means every object in the namespace. And from random, import randint. So of these three choices here, one of them is going to add the most number of objects to the namespace. Okay, so the answer, as Ilhan has answered, is B. So from random, import star. So star means that all the objects in the random module are going to be imported. And that means that a lot of objects are going to be imported into the namespace, which is generally not a good idea. When you're working, especially when you're working with a large code base, you have to be very careful about the number of objects you put into your namespace so that it doesn't become polluted. So when you have too many objects in your Python namespace, it's called namespace pollution. All right, so we have this right here. So we import random. So if we were to do this, how do we access the randint function in the code? Is it A, B, or C? So Ilhan says that the answer is B, and he is correct. So random dot and then the name of the function or method that you want to use. Right, that's the correct syntax, Ilhan. Thank you very much. Okay, so if you use either any, the other ones they're just not going to work. And number 3, in which directory does Python look for modules? So it's important that that you put your Python libraries, your modules and packages into the right directory. In this case, in which directory does Python look for modules? This answer is it's a bit of a misnomer. Wherever it is. Okay, so the answer in this case is it could be any of the above. So Python looks for modules either in the directory where all the other Python libraries modules are, which is usually the library directory, or it's going to look in the directory where the Python program is run. So over here, if I run Python and then I try to import greetings.py, it's going to work because the greetings.py file is in this directory. But if I go to another directory, so if I go to what directories are in here anyways? So if I go to the temp directory and then I run Python and then I import greetings, I can't do it because there's no greetings module, there's no greetings file inside of the current directory I'm in. And it's also not in the standard library directory either. Okay. All right, so we're going to do our workshop review exercise now, and then afterwards we're going to just play around with importing modules and doing some writing some programs until the end of the session. So let's write a program which features many of the concepts we learned in this workshop. A board game player wants to write a program which simulates throwing dice. We're going to write the program on onlinepython.com. You can actually write the program wherever you want. The program should have a function which takes an integer as an argument, which represents the number of dice to be rolled. A random number between 1 and 6 equal to the argument, and adds them up, and then returns the total. So it's going to create a random number between 1 and 6 equal to the number of times that you specify in the argument, and then return the total on the dice. The program should use the random Python module. So, whoops. So I've got Ilhan, you got auto-modded. So let's see. It looks like you were doing random.choice, I think, right? But in this case, let's try using this part of this snippet code right here. So what I want you to do is I want you to take this this part of the code. This part of the code, it's not going to be formatted correctly when you paste it into your IDE or your whatever editor you're using. But I want you to try using this code right here and write the function which prints out the total of the random dice rolls, where you can specify the number of times you roll over here. So give that a try. And if you manage to get a working program, please type in "I'm rolling the dice" in chat. Just like this. And add some smileys just for fun. So, like I said, you can use this this code right here as a template to get started. So, while we're writing our program, just to let everybody know, you can redeem certain rewards on this channel to get different stuff to appear on the screen. For example, if you type in !redeem and then no flicker, just like this, then you will see the lovely northern flicker woodpecker appear on screen. Let me type that in the other chat. Just like this. Okay, so let's start writing the program in our online Python window. So the first line is going to import the random module into our namespace. And then we're going to define a function over here. So the function's name is going to be roll d6, and the argument, the parameter, is going to be the number of rolls that you want to do. So the first thing you want to do to write this program is you want to specify a running total for the results of the dice so that we can keep track of them. Because we need to keep track of, we might need to keep track of more than one dice roll. And then we're going to set a loop, and the loop is going to be for x in range. So we use the range function to create a list, which is equal to the number of rolls. Oh, this is incorrect. It should be like this. So everybody, if you get an error, it's because the syntax is slightly incorrect in the text file. Sorry about that. So for x in range, number of rolls, then you have to do something. So what are we going to do in this case? So in this case, we're going to need to add to the total. So the total is going to be added to, so plus equals. And in this case, we're going to need to use the random.randint function. So random.randint. And remember, randint takes a parameter which is a starting number and an ending number. So a minimum range and a maximum range. So it's going to be, in this case, it's going to be 1, 6, which means that randint is going to generate a number between 1 and 6, and it's going to be added to the total each time. So this should be sufficient. Oh no, wait, there's one more thing we need to add. So what is the last thing we need to add to the end of the function? Does anybody know? Return, that's correct. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is return the total. So after the end, after all of the numbers have been added to the total, we have to return it, and that's going to be the end of the function. So at the end, we can print out roll d6. And let's say we roll 10 dice. So if we roll 10 dice, it should come out with a number between 6 and 60. So let's run this. So it comes out 36, 29, 26, 34, 38. So it generally tends to go around the middle of the range, which seems about correct. Okay, great. Okay, so before we close out, before we go into free-form practice, let's just finish out the official part of the lesson over here. So we could always, this is an example of how we could write a program that does the dice rolling. So instead of X, you can also put in a placeholder underscore, and it's going to do the same thing. All right, so if anybody wants this code, I guess I'll just leave this in the chat just in case you want to try it out for yourself. Okay, so modules and packages are pre-written code that can be imported into Python files to add functionality. This is the last lesson in the Python programming classes, but now that we know the basics, we can start learning a lot more about coding this extremely popular programming language. So if you want more exercises on today's topics, you can look at the video's description for links to supplemental documents and exercises. So what that is referencing is the YouTube channel. So on the YouTube channel, all of the HackerFrogs workshops are also videos that you can watch, and this corresponds with Python number 4 over here. And inside the description for the video, I'll just leave this link in the chat. So there's a section over here on extra credit exercises. So there are a number of different links that all have to do with dictionaries, and mostly to do with dictionaries, not so much to do with modules. But of course, there's also this post-course materials section right here, which has a number of different Python learning resources for learning more about Python after the course is over here. So I hope you take advantage of that. So, is there anything else in Okay, so that's done. What we're going to do until the end of today's session is we're going to start using some Python modules to write some useful programs. So let's try. Whoops, I logged out by accident. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to write a little program that that uses Python to get the contents of web pages. So does anybody here know what module you might use if you want to access web pages using Python? What module to access web pages using Python? So to access web pages using Python, you can use the request module. So I'm going to ask everybody here, have you used the request module before? So it's a popular and user-friendly HTTP library for making HTTP requests in Python. Allows you to send requests easily and handle responses seamlessly. So this is a very popular library for interacting with web pages using Python. So import requests. So inside of requests, request.get is the function you use to get the contents of web pages. So request.get. Let's start writing this. Script. So let's write a script that gets the contents of web pages. So what we would do is, let's see. I'm going to use Nano to create the file. We're going to call this webpage.py. So the first thing we do is import the request library. So Ilhan says that they've used requests before. So which functions did you use the most with the request library when you were using it? So we're going to import requests. Import. Just like this. I'm going to reset my music because it's been a little bit. So we're going to create a little variable here. What I don't like about using JS Linux is that sometimes the visuals get a bit messed up. That's why I have to make the visual a bit smaller. Okay, so we're going to create a variable called webpage, and it's going to be equal to, let's see. Let's do overthewire.org. So not just overthewire.org, we're going to do the subject of the next class we're going to do inside of HackerFrogs AfterSchool, which is the war game called Natus, which is a CTF. Let's use that as our example. So we're going to paste that in, and we're going to wrap it in quotes. Whoops. Okay, so this is the web page that we want to get right here. So get page equals. Actually, let's write this as let's write get page as a function. So get page, the function, is going to requests.get web page. Okay, and then we're going to print the results of get page. Okay, so let's see if we can print out the contents of the page using this Python script. All right, we're going to save this out. Okay, and then we Python webpage.py, and it should retrieve the contents of the over the wire page. Okay, so one problem with using JS Linux is that the web access that JS Linux has is actually very slow. So maybe this is not the best choice. Okay, it says none. That's interesting. I wonder why it didn't return anything. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the Python page. Okay, so I wonder how ChatGPT would write this. Okay, so here's a Python program that retrieves and prints the content of web page using the request module. Okay, so it's going to check if the response is status code 200, and it's going to return response.text. Response.text. Well, let's try that. What was the second part of that? Let's take a look. Return response.text. Okay. ChatGPT uses the try except method. Yeah, that's true. But I'm just going to see if we can pull this off by just using a shorter version of it. Okay, and it looks like we have gotten the full text. Nice. Okay, yeah, it seems to work. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to see if we can. Saidi, hello and welcome. Welcome to the stream. We're just experimenting with some Python scripts right now, and using the request module. All right, so let's try to modify the script a little bit so that it saves the output to a file instead. So actually, let's end off our Python section a little bit early, and let's just do a short questions and answer period before we end the stream. So Ilhan and Saidi, if you have any questions about cybersecurity or what you're learning next, I am actually interested in finding out what you guys are learning on your own right now, so I can figure out what kind of materials to put in the next streams, so that it helps you guys out. So Ilhan, are you currently trying to learn about web app pen testing, right? Which part of portswigger.net are you looking at right now? I remember you were talking about the Web Academy. So Saidi just subscribed. Thank you very much, Saidi. Welcome to the channel. All right, so we were looking at, what is it, Portswigger Academy. So Portswigger Academy is a very useful educational platform for learning about web app security. On this particular webpage, you can learn about a number of different web app vulnerabilities, and there are also interactive labs that you can take a look at as well. Yes, it is, or yes, you are. I assume, right, Ilhan? Ilhan, what are you currently learning in the Web Security Academy? Or might I ask, what have you recently completed studying on this on the website? So we're going to be shifting into web app hacking in next week for the HackerFrogs AfterSchool workshops. And we're going to be using this website to do so, which is Natus Over the Wire. This right here. So learning about shell commands. Oh, by shell commands, do you mean OS command injection? Like SSH and so on. So that would be this one right here, called command injection. Saidi says, I found you randomly, you sound friendly. I'm trying to get to become a backend programmer, but I'm interested in cybersecurity. So Saidi, when you say backend programmer, what did you learn in school? Did you learn programming languages such as Java or JavaScript? What kind of technologies did you learn in school? Ilhan says, I am still experimenting each command and how does it work and when to use it. Okay, so there's actually, so Ilhan, let's see, I did, on the HackerFrogs AfterSchool website, we do have a crash course on Linux OS operations, which on the website is the Red series. The Red series of videos. So if you go onto my channel, there are a number of Linux OS operations videos. So there should be 3 of them in total. If you're looking at Linux OS operations, you can also try taking a look at TryHackMe. So I'm not logged in here, but that's okay. I think I can still browse. Let's see. So there's a Linux fundamentals rooms. So I'll paste the link for the first one over here. There's a whole series of these. There's also a website called Linux Journey. Which is also very good for learning Linux. It's not necessarily super interactive, but there's a lot of good information here. If you read through that, that's very useful, especially for understanding stuff like permissions, which a lot of people have struggle a little bit understanding. So to Side E, may I ask what you've previously learned about cybersecurity? So if you haven't learned very much about cybersecurity, I would suggest going to my YouTube page, and I have a lot of different videos on different cybersecurity topics. Currently, we have 3 topics that you can go through, which are web app hacking, Python programming, and Linux OS operations. To anybody who's new here, we also have a Reddit subreddit that we post on, which is Reddit r/r/HackerFrogs. Let me copy that for you. So before we wrap up the stream, I'll let you guys know that we're starting our new course next week, which is web app hacking. If you want to get a preview, you can watch the first web app hacking video on the YouTube page. We're going to be doing one more stream this week. On Wednesday, we're going to be doing a stream at around the same time, which is 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to be doing some network pen testing practice on the tryhackme.com website. Specifically, we're going to be doing, which one are we doing? Let me find it. Where'd it go? Ah, this one right here. Okay. All right, so on Wednesday we'll be tackling this room right here. We'll be doing a walkthrough of this particular module from tryhackme.com. If you don't have an account at tryhackme.com, it's a very good education platform for learning cybersecurity. And aside from that, we'll be back with our new course next Monday, which is web app hacking. I hope to see you there. But until then, we're going to be closing out the stream. Thank you very much to everybody for stopping by. Thank you very much to our good friends Ilhan Idris and Sai D. And have a great evening, and we'll see you next time.